Welcome back, everyone, to the Genius Recap, Season 1, Episode 3. I'm your host, Zach Wurtenberger from Survivor 42. You really know me from Big Brother 25. And I'm here with my brother, who you really know from Big Brother 25, but you also might know from being America's boyfriend. It is Cory Wurtenberger. Cory, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I think at this point, or at least after this podcast, I hope people know me as Dwight's friend.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well,
Anyways, how are you, Dwight?
Wait, I got a whole intro. I got
Zach, my
yeah,
introduction, please. Well, if it's
yeah, I got a
complimentary,
whole
hold
intro.
on. Is it complimentary or let's see how it is.
One of the smartest reality TV players that I know, one of the smartest people that I know, the man that Spike Lee once said has a bright future ahead of him. It is Dwight Moore. Dwight, how are you doing?
Where did you find this? I'm doing great. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to podcast about the Genius. This is like a dream of mine. So I'm so happy.
I could only give, half as nice of an intro as Spike Lee once did.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, Dwight, obviously people know you from Survivor. I think, honestly, there's probably people who just know you from your Blood on the Clock Tower and just know you as, like, this big gamer. So I want to know, like, where does your kind of love for these games come from? Like, well, what is it that, like, brings you to these, like, social strategic games that makes you so good at them? And then also, like, how did that kind of bring you to The Genius, which, at least in my opinion, is, like, the ultimate reality TV show for these kinds of games?
It's hard to really track where it started. I just know as a kid, I watched a lot of game show network shows, like random ass game shows. I'm not sure why I like doing that. So from there, I started finding, I found like shows like Survivor, Big Brother, etc., and watched those, trying to figure out, oh, this is just like the next level of this kind of stuff. So I just have always been a massive gamer. Also, I love video games, or I love board games. So it's just a natural evolution of what I really enjoy in my free time, and then I can do it on TV. And like these big shows, like these to have like a lot of rules, but also have the structure around them to make sure those rules are being followed. And for me, having that structure, knowing people aren't going to cheat, for the most part, allows you have a lot of fun. You have a lot of freedom when you do this. And in terms of Genius, I found the Genius absolutely randomly when I was in high school. I'm not sure what I was doing. I just looked up like other shows. I think it was a Reddit forum, someone saying like, oh, if you like so and so, you also like the Genius. I was like, sure, I'll try it out. And I was hooked on the show immediately. I had to get through the first couple episodes of season 1 of the Korean show. Like, these death matches are not exactly fun to watch, but past that, amazing. Loved watching. I think I binged all 4 seasons in like 2 days. And then I was like, okay, where's the US version? And then doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, where's the other versions? Don't exist anywhere. So I was quite sad. And of course, Netherlands version came out. Watched that as like basically as soon as the episode released, I was like, oh, on that YouTube channel that I was on, watching it. So massive fan of the show, loved it for a long time. And now there's a version I don't have to look at the bottom of my screen the whole time for subtitles. I can just watch the show and listen. So it's amazing.
I have a question, Dwight. So, I feel like not only do you play in a lot of these social strategy games, you sometimes are running them. And, as the person who's kind of like running a lot of these clock tower games, you have to make a lot of decisions in terms of like trying to make an interesting game. So, purely from the perspective of game design, we're through 3 episodes. You're a big fan of the South Korean Genius. What's your like review so far on these games? Are you impressed with what they've done? Is there anything they've fallen short on? Just like, what's your assessment?
I have enjoyed the game so far. We had episode 1. We had this game with the whole kind of gambling if you want to go on the mission or not, and also put people in jail. I like that mechanic. It also already sets from the beginning that concept of if you want to kind of target someone, you have the ability to do so, but you're making an enemy at the same time. And that's kind of a concept of the Genius South Korea, and they poured that over here in a great way. This episode's game, I like the design as well. Like the rules of it, pretty straightforward. And like a lot of room for collaboration, a lot of room for sabotage. I really, really enjoyed the concept of this game. So I think they've done a good job so far. I'm not sure. Was this one in the South Korean version? This is a unique game to
It's a brand new game.
Yeah, like I said, I read it, I fell in love with it immediately. So I was so happy with this one. And Yeah, I'm impressed so far. So I'm curious to see what they come up with. If they keep coming up with new, unique games, if they port over some of the old ones, even like put a little twist on it. But regardless, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, we're
scamming horse race vibes from this game was the only one that I think is close in terms of everyone getting their own clue and then having to piece together, and you could lie about your clue, and none of this really mattered. But that was the only similarity I can really see.
Yeah, I think
or like a stormy stock market too.
Yeah, sure.
Having the undercover agent saboteur aspect of it does make it a little more interesting because it like theoretically this saboteur could have. Anyway, spoilers. But anyways, yeah, like I was thinking about a world where the undercover agent can recruit somebody, be like, okay, you also give fake hints, and I'll give you my token of life. And then you have two people putting misinfo out there. But there's so many layers to this game, and it's one thing about making enemies if you want to, or go for your own win, or a whole group can kind of go for one if they want to, or guarantee that the undercover agent goes to the deathmatch. But
we've got so much to talk about with this episode. Before we dive all the way into this main match, make sure to, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Subscribe to the We Know the Genius feed. If you're still struggling to find these episodes, Rob is a podcast patron group, has it all. And then also, just search it, find it. I mean, look, you're 6 minutes into the podcast, right? I'd hope that you found the links at this point. I don't know what you're really doing here if you hadn't. With all that said, let's just get straight into the episode now. We start off at the intro. We haven't really had that much like fun stuff going on at the roundtables yet. Like it's a thing that I've loved. Yeah, it's a thing I loved in the Korean version. Like you would have some real like comedy there. And I think there's one thing that the show's really been missing for me thus far. It's been like comedy. It's just not a very funny show. And I wish we got a lot more of that.
Yeah. Also, like it kind of shows at the South Korean version, they show the camaraderie between the cast in that way that people coming in, having conversations, 2 people talking in, 3, 4. It just kind of like blitz through the people coming in. And it just, I guess maybe it's trying to do their own thing, but it just takes away from what I loved about the original show in the first place, right?
Yeah. You know what it reminds me? Or honestly, like, I think it's very unique because usually what we want in these shows is like, give us all gamers, people who are going to play hard, try to win. The Genius, the South Korean version, casts celebrities. And then they kind of play hard or fast and loose with that idea as the seasons go on. But I think the Genius is like a very specific scenario where sometimes the most optimal play is a lot more boring than like some of the chaos that we'll get and people who are trying to entertain, like celebrities who might not be as invested in winning the whole thing. So I do think like that roundtable, everyone's still playing the game on the Genius Game UK, whereas in the South Korean version, people are like, the main match hasn't started yet. We're just hanging out.
Kim Gura is not playing a game at the round table. Yeah. Can I ask, 3 episodes in, what is our feeling on David Tennant's performance as the host of this show?
I mean, all right is kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, it's very like it's funny because like in the first episode I was watching, and be like, oh, they never show his face on camera when he's saying a name. They just had to pre-record all the names and then all these things of like you've been like you lost the match, you win. I'm just like, okay, so they just had him. They had him in a studio for a day or two. Said record all this cool things for hosting. Bye. So I don't think of it as a host, more so just as the overarching a program for the show. I don't see him as a host personally. That's hard for me to say when he's just kind of like took a day out of his schedule, pre-recorded these lines and went on about his way. But I like they have him as a part of it. Maybe it amplifies the viewership, people coming to it. Great, but he's not a host.
I don't think that if you went to David Tennant today and asked him, can you name one of the contestants?
What's the over-under? You think the over-under is a half a contestant?
He might remember like 1 or 2 names. Just trying to figure out to pronounce them, and that's it.
I think if you gave him enough tries, he could guess a Ben, Ken, Paul.
Oh, he'll land on it
just
eventually.
From sheer English names.
So I agree with you, Dwight. What takes me out of it is exactly which lines are recorded after the fact and which ones are before, and that takes me out a little bit. And then the other thing, talk about nitpicks, because there's going to be some criticisms that are not nitpicks. They're much bigger. This is a nitpick. In the credits, they call him the creator, which is very confusing to me, because I had a lot of comments in our YouTube comments being like, I can't believe David Tennant came up with this whole thing. It's like, guys, I don't think this was him cooking up the zombie game from 5 years ago and then bringing it to the UK. Like, I don't think so.
Listen, if David Tennant, if you did, I apologize, but I don't believe you did that. I don't believe you got it like that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Do you think we see him in the finale? I think that the
No.
only chance. Okay.
Sorry.
I think we do. I think
I will be floored.
Okay. Oh, the floor. Maybe we'll see him on the floor.
Don't
Yeah, see,
be.
Rob Lowe. If Rob Lowe shows up for the floor, then David Tennant should show up for Genius Game. I mean, come on.
Like, but I mean, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna show up in person?
Yes, he should show up in person. He's the host of the show. Why is he like literally? He's not even on a Zoom call. It's like they're playing like the lecture. It's like the professor's out and like
they prepare like that. They just have him say all the names and say like the quips about like the funny quip about the game and the name of it and some pun, and then at the end be like, oh, you don't want to be the first one out, you want the second one out. This is it. This is all he did. Like so I love great. He's done a great performance, but he's not hosting.
Yeah,
I wish instead of recording voice lines after the fact, he just recorded like short bits. So he has him saying Bedalia, and then kind of like an EA Sports game. It's like Bedalia, congratulations on winning the game. Like they just cut everything together.
I think that's what he did. What you think he did anything in post?
No, it's like the Smash Brothers. It's like Smash Brothers, like Ice Climbers.
I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Like I think like every time they make it look pretty natural of like the name into a statement, but I think that's what they straight up done.
No, Dwight's 100% correct. They show the person whenever he says the name, and then they cut to him finishing the sentence.
Like immediately cut to him, but to make it look like it was one thing. But no, I don't. Nothing was done in post. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're all on the same page about David Tennant not crushing it in the way that Bandage Young did. So we get the Garnet
Truly
count.
just a PDF, by the way, Bandage Young.
Yeah, like he's doing more than the original G's in that regard. So I will give them that credit. Okay,
Yeah. So Bandage Garnet count right now. Basha, Charlotte, Indy have 3. Everyone else has 2 except Bedalia and Ken, which up to this point in the show is very accurate to me in terms of who I felt like has been giving me the least to talk about. I would say that Bedalia and Ken would be the 1 and 2, with maybe a little bit for Bedalia. And then we finally get our main match, which is Code Breakers. So the rules of this game, it's a pretty classic Genius structure, even though this is a new game where you have to crack a 10-letter code. Everyone gets 1 hint about the code, and you can purchase up to 3 additional hints total for like the whole group. For the first 3 rounds, you can guess 3 letters and their placements. You get a point for a correct letter, 2 points for correct letter and placement. The points are revealed, but like your accuracy itself is hidden. And then 1 player, this is the key rule for this game, maybe the only rule that truly matters, is the undercover agent. They get all of the hints ahead of time and have to prevent the other players from guessing correctly. If a player guesses correctly, they get 20 points. Whoever has the most points wins. And if someone guesses it correctly, whoever has the most points wins. And the uncover agent is the deathmatch candidate. If no player guesses correctly, then the undercover agent wins, and the player with the least amount of points is the deathmatch candidate. And then the winner receives 3 garnets. Up to 3 other players can get a garnet if they score more than 20 points. So off the bat, you're sitting there, you've just heard this game described. What is your strategy going in?
Good, Corey.
I would just keep me away from the. Like, I don't want to be the undercover agent. Just keep me away from it. I generally, when there's games where there's a single person who has the special role, I have to imagine if you look across the breadth of Genius history, that person wins at like a 70% clip. Those episodes. Even still, the idea that they're immediately the deathmatch candidate or the deathmatch candidate, keep me out. I want nothing to do with it. Hopefully that's my best friend.
Also, the problem going forward with like these assigned role games is that in future games, people might look back and be like, oh, this person they lied to me so well, or they did this and deceived. They were forced to by the game, but people just forget that. They just remember that they were lied to, they were deceived, they were used, they were controlled. And it just puts them in an unnecessary position when they just randomly assign that role. Some people understand, like, yeah, the game forced you to do this, but a lot of times people have that emotional attachment to what happened to them in the past, and it can really bite them in the butt later on. So yeah, I at first glance don't want to be an undercover agent because for the future it's going to cause problems. Just a question for you guys: do you guys like the concept of these games having the one person singled out, or do you like the games where it's just everyone even playing field? Do you think they're both necessary for the Genius?
I think that for a game like this, you could have done this game without the undercover agent. And I think seeing how the undercover agent went this game, I'll start off by saying I thought this was my favorite episode of the 3 we've seen. And that's I mean, there's one person we're really going to be talking about this whole episode in Benjamin, who was our undercover agent. So I think that the episode itself did turn out great and did turn out very entertaining, but it was a completely different game than what we were actually meant to be playing, which was this code breaking, trying to solve, use the hints together. And I think what's fun about not having the undercover agent is you can still lie to people. You can still give fake clues without there being an undercover agent. And especially if this game broke down into alliances, that's what we could have seen happen without someone literally like having a gun to their head requiring them to lie in the way that Ben did.
Yeah. Well, that's why they did it, right? And I think that's a lot of what we've seen in the Genius game so far, of making mechanisms that force deceit on these players who seem prone to being pretty honest and playing a straightforward game, trying to avoid the deathmatch. And even still, Benjamin found a way to like not be deceitful, at least in the way they intended. So, and to answer your question, Dwight, big picture, I don't like games where someone's singled out. First of all, a lot of it comes down to chance on whether the episode's good or not based on who is selected. And I find these roles almost impossible to balance. Usually they're like overtuned. In this game, I don't even know what the deal is because everyone else played so unoptimally. But I think it just, the whole game revolves around one person. That person better have a fun plan in mind.
Yeah, I think that I prefer, versus like a role-based game, I prefer a game like Identity. I think it was Identity Thief. The ID game in season 4, episode 1, where someone starts being forced to lie, but they can easily pass the buck off to someone else. And then the moment that you've done that, you can play the game kind of as it was intended to be played. I think that's a better version of this. So I want to take this game in 2 parts, and there's going to be a lot of Benjamin for us to talk about. But I want to, before we even get into the craziness that happened with him as the undercover agent and how he truly broke this game fundamentally, I want to talk, like, let's pretend that this game actually was played correctly. And one of the incredible things when I asked Dwight to do this episode is he decided that he was going to actually try to solve the word himself, playing by the games, the rules, with the hints provided. And I'll tell you, like, he sent me 3 guesses. By the 3rd guess, he was like, first letters, EXT. And I was like, he got it. So Dwight, I want to start off, like, for a game like this, when it comes to solving a code, where do you even begin? How were you able to solve this thing? And what strategies did you use essentially? How'd you do that? How the hell did you do that? Because I didn't even try.
So I guess from a high level to start, everybody, how I kind of approached this was I looked at the hints everyone was provided, and then I would make a guess to Zach, who knew the word. I just give him a guess. He gave me the points back. Then I'd look at the guesses from everyone else for that round. So I was playing with perfect information from the players. So keep that in mind. If there was like deceit from other players, I inferior as well. But also there were like 4 unique guesses in round 1. So if I had a group of 4 or 5, I could probably replicate this too. Regardless. So the first thing I want to look at is the hints themselves. So I'm going to read out the hints that were provided for everybody. There are 7, 1, 2, 3, 8 hints.
8.
Some are stronger than others. I'll get to those at the end of this. But the hints are: the last 2 vowels are in reverse alphabetical order. At least 1 letter appears twice. The second half of the word has more consonants than vowels. The code word contains 2 letters, exactly 2 letters that are in the word game. The 6th and 10th letters are adjacent in the alphabet. The first 2 letters have 1 letter from the first half and 1 letter from the second half of the alphabet. The code word contains at least 2 vowels, and the 5th and 6th letters are 7 letters apart in the alphabet. Mm-hmm. So you have these 8 hints, and my eyes immediately went to 2 hints in particular because they both pointed at the exact same letter in the alphabet. And those hints are being 6th and 10th letters are adjacent in the alphabet, and the 5th and 6th letters are 7 letters apart.
Yeah. So
from that, you already have a very narrow list of possible configurations in the alphabet itself. So I had this long doc that I had scratch work on. I sent it to Zach. But the first thing I did is I wrote down every pair of letters that are 7 letters apart. So I had AH, BI, so on and so forth going down. And I started ruling out some that are unlikely, right? Like QX as letters 5 and 6 in the word, probably not going to happen. So you can kind of scratch that out. Same with PW, all right, et cetera, et cetera. As you rule letters out that are in the word, if you get like a 0 on a guess, you can rule out 3, 4, 5 more of these rows, and so on and so forth. And also same with 6 and 10 being adjacent. So let's look at C and J, for example. Those could be next to each other. Probably unlikely. But then you think if a word has J as a 6th letter, it's going to end in I or K? Probably not. So you can rule that out too. So you want to look at combinations of letters that are very common, and that would make sense being in the middle of the word. And
yeah,
at that point, I had DK, GN, HO, M, like LS, NU, possibly. Like there were only a few that I really was considering. So that's like at the very beginning what you want to do. Next, I want to make my first guess. And this is before I watch any episode. I did not know what they guessed at all. But my first guess to Zach was, I need to find it because I need to scroll down. M and 5, M and 5, E and 6, and G and 10. That is from the hint of 2 letters from this word. 2 letters are from the word game. So if I can get, the ideal here is getting a 1, because then I know of this exactly 1 letter is here. I know like A is in the word and 1 of the letters is correct. I got a 2 on my guess, which opens up a lot. It tells, you want
now, Dwight, with that specific point, you guessed GME, which I thought was great guesses because that game felt like a really strong clue to me, knowing exactly 2. The moment you figure those 2 out, you can cross 2 others out. If you had like a ride or die ally in this game and you were able to make like a second guess during that round, like what would it have been? Like the similar letters? Would you have been testing out the A? Would you have been wanting to like lock that down or do something completely different?
Personally, I either would have done those same 2 letters in different positions to come if I still get a 2, either we got very lucky and hit like the same position 2 times, or we just know for sure that A is not in the word. So that's probably like baseline if I have like a ride or die, just to start narrowing down the world to future guesses with the hints right as well. But yeah, so from that I learned that A was not in the word, or I have 1 of the letters exactly correct and A is somewhere else in the word. Then I looked at the guesses those people made. There were only everyone guessed RSE in some weird combination because someone told them to, except for Allison, who guessed BRA in random positions and got a 0. It is something I want
very helpful.
Yeah, I do want to talk to this a bit as well in this game. Getting a 0 or getting like a 4 or above, the strongest thing you can get. You don't want to get a 2. 2 is horrific because that means you either got 1 letter exactly correct or 2 letters that could be anywhere, and that just opens up too many worlds. A 0, by far the best thing you can get because you're ruling out 3 complete letters. Besides a 6, but ignore. Assume you don't get a 6. Okay, that's you know the damn word at that point. If you get a 0, you're ruling out 3 letters entirely. That helps narrow down other people's guesses as well. Which if you're someone who is the secret agent or helping, that's probably a tool you want to use. You want to say, hey, I guess these 3 letters got a 0, and hoping you can start pushing people away from the actual word.
So let me just say my strategy going into this, and you obviously are thinking this on such a deeper level than I am. My strategy from the beginning would have been, all right, let me get my alliance of at least 4. So it'd be me and 3 other people. And our first round, we should literally be going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, what's after? Yeah, G, H, I, continuing. And then do the next, and then we could skip Q and Z, I would say. We can skip those 2.
Well,
I think people would probably skip X, but
I would want to skip Q and Z, and then we have all 24 letters lined up, and then we know exactly what letters are going to be in this. Well, I guess we don't know.
Yeah, the thing with that plan is you then can't really account for which letters are duplicated.
Oh yeah.
So then your space kind of gets a bit bigger in that regard. So I think that plan,
ABC, like it would be, I guess there would be 0 from ABC, but like.
I think doing it like that, you have interspersed a lot of common letters in those groups of 3. So if you really want to do that, I'd say rearrange it to where like letters you think are uncommon to be in the word are together. So if you get a 0, you can rule it out entirely. Like let's say you put J and V and W in the same group. If you get like a 1, great. Now, if you get a 0, cool. You don't have to consider the fringe of those 3 letters being in the word. So being alphabetically might be more of a problem because of the space it provides for words you can form.
So can I ask a philosophical question, Dwight, about this game, kind of big picture? Do you think the hints were tuned well? Because to me, it feels like they were very cautious to make the hints too strong, and I feel like they might have gone too far in the other direction.
I think the two hints I talked about, 6 and 10 and 5, like the two about being letters, those are by far the strongest hints in the game. If a alliance of 4 had those 2 hints, that's all I need, in my opinion. Like, the second half is more consonants than vowels. Feels like a hint of why. Like it's kind of just there.
Code word contains at least 2 vowels is pretty useless. I mean, name a 10-letter word that doesn't have 2 vowels in it. You know,
like that one is completely
at least is crazy.
The first 2 letters having one from first half, one from second half. That's kind of helpful. I like when I started thinking about the words. I think the first one my mind went to was assignment, and I started like trying to figure out like that can't be it. But I was like, that's where my mind went to, which is kind of why I got the GN.
So then, Dwight, what was the eureka moment for you? How did you go from all of this, all these pieces that you were playing around with? You tried out all the letters for 5, 6, and 10. Like, what was it that broke, extinguished for you?
So after my guess round 1, I looked at everyone else's guesses. I then started writing out just the full combinations of what I think are likely, given those 2 middle letters and what would be the 6th letter. So I think I'm going to have my doc here. I had written out NG with H at the end, NG with F at the end, GN with M at the end, so on and so forth. I did it for NG being the middle 2, SL being the middle 2, FM being the middle 2, and I had, I think, DK being the middle 2 at some point. I think breakdance was a word that came to mind as well, but I realized breakdance can't be it because A wasn't in the word. That was confirmed by Allison's guess. But without that, I probably would have gone for breakdance at some point. As working at, I think I fit some of the other hints, but not all of them. But round 2, I decided to guess F, M, and L, specifically because if that gave me a 0, yeah. Funny enough, I told Zach, I was like, I've heard this like actual guess is not just how I'm feeling right now because I spent Zach can tell you I spent like a lot of time like doing this. He's like probably was thinking like, why did Dwight die? But no, I was just like locked in on this document. But FML being letters in letters positions 5, 6, and 10. If that's correct, if I get like a 4, I know I have the middle 2 correct. If I get a 2, I probably have those 2 flipped. I know the middle 2 letters at that point because I can't get a 1, I believe, at that point unless it's just the L. Because if F and M are in the middle 2, it's either a 4 or a 2. So I'm getting so that gives a lot of info on that as well. And so with that 0, that draws my eyes immediately to I can then rule out anything that involves those 3 letters or the chains related to those letters based on the ending or the middle 2.
Cross all of that out. Yeah,
cross a lot more out. And then I stared at the NGGN and I just look at for so long. It's like, it's NG ending in H. Extinguish just came to mind. I was like, that fits everything. Like it just kind of popped immediately, right? I was thinking the starting combinations of letters as well. I was like, SC could be a start. EN, EX. It was like, just going from there. So this game, like it's not too often you get a new game on Genius where you can start solving it for yourself. And like I saw this, like I want to play along, see if I can do this. And I was very happy that ended up working out. But I was like, I'm stubborn and I was gonna sit here and solve it. I think Zach's like, please actually look at the episode and watch it play out a bit. Because if I sat here without anything besides my 3 guesses, impossible.
No, because well, and also what I didn't want you to get so excited and be like, all right, I just solved it. Now I can't wait to see all these other people put in the college try that I did and solve it themselves, which is obviously
they couldn't. And this is why, like, what Dwight did, so much effort, so impressive. He also had every ounce of information, including where other people were guessing and their specific combination of letters and where they were placing them. For these players who have to navigate the idea of, okay, people could be lying about their clues. They could be lying about where they're placing letters. And even if everyone's telling the truth, you have to make the rounds and get all this information from everyone every time. So like, let's take out the secret agent or, whatever. That role does not exist. It's just 8 clues. I don't know if they get the answer. I really don't.
All right. Well, I'll touch on that a bit. Which, funny enough, I think the problem with what happened if people were playing for themselves, once the secret agent reveals themselves, Ben does that, right? Everyone else then knows misinformation will come from Ben and his allies. So if you can get a group of 4 or 5, then you have perfect info between those 5 people who have no intent to lie anymore. And like I said, I had perfect info from the people, but like I said, there were only in round 1, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unique guesses. Round 2 had 1 to 5 unique guesses. So yeah, a group of 5 could do what I did if they have perfect info.
And this was with 0 of the clues purchased. I mean, 1 was purchased, but 0 of them were used. Those are usually going to be the strongest clues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did not get to see those. Those are probably really strong clues. If you get 2 or 3 of those, you probably like. I will say that group of 5 or 6, if they trust each other, they, in my opinion, would need to have the hints I talked about, the 5th and 6th letter, 6th, 10th letter. Those are crucial for solving it. So the secret agents team has those 2. Throw my strategy out the window unless the secret purchasable hints were strong or stronger than that. But I think like this is replicable by a group of players. The one thing I would say, and this is like a product of maybe these people are like, if they were locked in, they're extremely smart. Time limit. Between my guesses, like first round 1, 2 guesses, I was doing my scratch work with Zach. It was about like 45 minutes. They have 20. And they're also doing this in a studio, under like on camera, under pressure. So that could also affect a lot. But also, I was working by myself. You could have bounce ideas of people. Like, and that was probably too many cooks in the kitchen. Could also make a problem. Who really knows? But there's so many factors. I think it would be possible, but still hard for a group of people that know who the saboteur is, can avoid their misinfo, and can trust the people they're working with. There is room for this game to be solved if played out naturally.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dwight, for that very, very like incredible breakdown of this game. I'm glad we got that in. I'm glad somebody in the world tried to play this game, because now 30 minutes in, it's time to talk about what
the
actually
game maker
happened.
is shedding a tear watching this podcast.
Oh yeah, David Tennant.
Someone
David
played my game.
I got y'all.
Yeah, no, there was someone who had an ounce of respect for all of the hard work that went into this. Because let's talk about what really happened here, which is instantly the group is talking about, all right, they just gave us a game. How do we break this in the form of alliances? That's instantly what Charlotte brings up. And we see this talked about. We see the clues be given out, and we instantly see who the undercover agent is. As a fan of the Genius, the moment that I saw the undercover agent was revealed immediately, I knew we were in for something disastrous. I knew it was going to be a miss, because that is the kind of role that they would have kept hidden if it wasn't going to immediately go haywire.
They would let folks play along, be like, oh, who's giving them misinfo? I thought it was like, oh, dear God. How is this going to go wrong? And boy, did it.
Yeah, so it was Benjamin was our undercover agent. And the moment that Benjamin gets it, he says in confessional, his plan is to shut this game down. So let's talk about Ben's actions from the moment he leaves the dealer room to from the moment the game starts. The 1, 2, 3, 4 we see from Ben is he instantly yells out, "I'm going to buy a hint," runs, buys the hint, says, "Charlotte, Bedalia, Indy, come with me. Everyone else, please do not share your clues.
Like
I will be back for you shortly."
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the survivor player in me just said, "Oh, what the fuck is that? Like, there's 6 of us. There's 4. Like, what are they doing?" Like, okay. I just need to say for something for the other 6 people that witnessed this happen. If you see someone call out people, prioritize them. Do you think you're at the top of the food chain?
No, I do not. I do not understand for the life of me how it was 5 of them. There were 5 of them that were on the outs there.
Five,
how the 5 of them did not instantly be like, well, that was fucking sus. Let's work together as the 5 of us right now. Like, this should be the alliance.
I know why. Because this is a mechanism that the Genius game loves. Loser picks the elimination candidate they're going up against, and their plan, if it succeeds, you're like, all right, 1 in 3 chance of going to the death match if I don't get a token of life, because one of you is going to win it, the other one's going to be protected, and we first of all still have to win the game. If Ben wins anyways, we're screwed. So like, the idea is like, okay, guys, there's so many of you and only one of him. Let's win the game, or at least play the game. But the problem is he has the ultimate call of who's at risk of going home. So like, I get not wanting to be the first person to bring up that idea, because if you are, you might just get deathmatched.
But like, I will say, the way Ben's been playing so far, he seems so deathly afraid of death matches. I'd be like, cool, like he might crumble under that pressure, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, another thing as well is you're getting to play this game like Genius. And I think Indy kind of did this a bit, which I kind of like. Also, I was like, then do it. She's like, why don't we just play the game? Like, you're on this show. They create these awesome games for you to do, these very fun things. And then you're just acquiescing to this person who's doing a strategy that's best for him. Play the damn game. Like, that's what you're here for. If you're okay sitting here and doing nothing, that's great and all. I don't want you on my show. I'm sorry if that's rude at all.
Right?
What?
No, it makes it much worse. They're playing right now for like $12,000.
So
it's not even like I understand the boring gameplay. Like at the end of the day, this is life-changing money. Hopefully it like gets up there. But right now, was the number like 15K, 19K or something?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Like, to be fair, I don't know if they knew about the tariffs at the time. So like they might have in their mind, this money might have actually been worth more. They didn't realize when they were filming this that the Nintendo Switch was going to cost $500.
$80 new releases. I don't blame them. I would need that money.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked all about Benjamin. Let's talk about what Benjamin's actual strategy going into this game was. So he goes up to the three that we said, Charlotte, Bedalia, Indy, and says that he's going to tell everyone the same letter to guess except Ken and Amanfi. Go for a massive joint win of all of those people. Have Ken, Amanfi, one of the two of them in the death match. And then the goal, he said, would be to get either Bex or Basha chosen. So, gut check from you. We've talked already about what you would do if you were one of the other players. If you're Benjamin, you got this role. Do you think that this is a good plan from him? Do you think that this is messy? Do you think that this is disastrous? Where do you think, just right off the bat?
I don't hate the plan because, yes, it is the best thing for him to do. The way he went about it is with the worst social graces I have seen in such a long time. Because, like I said, to call out 3 of your allies publicly and leave the majority in the circle, to then go to the targets themselves and you just tell a story of like, okay, yeah, I have a plan. I'm targeting a person, but I can't tell you who it is. But you told the other 7 people about the 2 targets. All it takes is one person to leak it. Your plan's cooked. There's and like the way there's a social grace you need to have if you're doing a strategy like this, and he does not have it. Just to be very frank.
You say that, and I would 100% agree. And as I was watching this episode through, that's what I was thinking, under the assumption that someone was going to betray him. But then it all worked, and that's what I'm trying to grapple with. The comparison I want to make with Benjamin, and I can't even believe this. It reminds me of Tony in the way that Tony, especially during Kagayan, before we knew the player that Tony was, Tony would make these crazy moves and be so paranoid and be so like outwardly obviously gaming that it almost put the competitors into a stun lock because no one wanted to be the person who was against him.
That is true. Yeah, I'm like, part of me is like, maybe we're not seeing the charm, the social game that he does have, or maybe do we have a cast of people who are just afraid to speak up?
I don't think it's charm. I think it's fear.
Just fear. Yeah, fear too. But still, it's like, is it the cast? Do we have people who are just all naturally afraid? Because I mean, there was definitely rumblings of people who want to play the game, but no one was the one to step up and do it. Even the people who I think should have been more aware that they were in danger. And I think this is where I will give Ken a bit more credit than Amafi. Ken was just like, what the hell is this? Like, you kind of look like you're not telling me who the target is. He seemed to have some suspicion of what was going on, but still did have to act on it. Amanfi, I'll get to that later on. But I think, again, the survivor alarms of if you don't know of the plan, if you don't hear usually if you don't hear 2 names on Survivor, you're one of the names being pitched out there. In this game, if you don't hear any plan, you are the plan. That's as simple as that.
So I think I'm viewing Benjamin's gameplay a lot more favorably than both of you, and especially you, Dwight. Where I think this game and the role he had to play, this is an Iron Fist type game. Like you have to shut it down. The social being a nuanced, good social player and making everyone like you. I think in this game, he kind of did what he had to do. And I think that was made a lot easier because he was able to use the specter of the deathmatch as a deterrent to anyone messing with his plan. It's if there's a wrinkle in the rules, Dwight, and poke holes in it if you can. where he doesn't, if someone solves the code, he doesn't immediately go to the deathmatch. I think people are much more willing to go against essentially his game ruining plan.
I mean, my thing, from perspective is, it all stems from his action at the beginning of calling 3 people and saying, I want y'all first. The other 5, that is a signal that this man does not have you on his totem pole at all. To win this game, everyone's going to go home at some point. You're probably going to go to a deathmatch at some point. You need to get this man out if you want for future games to have numbers. So it's either he gets 5v4. It's either you make sure he's in a deathmatch, you have a chance of sending someone home, and then you have a chance of increasing your majority. Or let's say you go home yourself, at least you try to make it better. You try to improve your game because you're not going to sit back and let them take the majority, take the game over. So once you see that, there's no more deception in the game. There's no more lying. Like you see that group before going on, you have that 5. You have perfect info. You can solve the game with your group. And it's just, I cannot fathom that no one. And I get you don't want to go see a death match, but once he does that, and he has the power, he said, but he gave up his power when he made that move. He publicly revealed who his allies are, publicly revealed where any misinfo will come from. The other 5 can band together, and they have at this point the power to solve the game, power to actually win the game.
And Benjamin can only choose one of them.
Right. Like, and then, like worst case scenario is like in either case, it's someone from that side or someone from your side in deathmatch.
Like maybe I do think part of the fear is that Benjamin himself is such an intimidating deathmatch threat that I think that specifically, like the fear of like, I'm not just going to be going to the deathmatch. I would hypothetically, if I screw him over, I'm going to the deathmatch with Benjamin. What needed to happen was they needed to have multiple people who were willing to make the move and like do it in unison so that there couldn't be one scapegoat for Benjamin. If enough people do it, then there's actually room for them all to be like, them all to take the blame, and Benjamin could choose any one of them, or one of them could be the winner. Like we needed any form of like unionization against the dictatorship of Benjamin in this game.
Yeah, but I think so. Dwight, you're saying the big mistake is like immediately outing your allies, basically. I think he chose some good allies in terms of everyone who might have been able to organize that and be like Bex, I believe, did not like being left out.
Bex and they're just butting heads. Like I don't think personalities clash.
India and Charlotte are who I would worry about. Like, they might be able to get something done on that other side.
Yeah, and India, I think would have done it in different world. India definitely, because she's like, I want to play the damn game.
Yeah.
And now let's give some huge credit to Benjamin, by the way. Yes. Because Benjamin, yes, that was an initial faux pas where he instantly goes there. He then brings the hint card to the dealer back. He's like, oh, I didn't even look at it. And then
it's saying like I didn't want else to get it. I'm just like, brother, the social grace of a bull. I'm like, oh my god, that.
But to his credit, he then pulls everyone one by one and has the same conversation with them, where he basically does a phenomenal job in retrospect of making everybody come in on this plan and feel like it is going to benefit them at the end. Even the ones like Ken, who had the suspicion, who didn't get the name, Benjamin refused to tell him who. Ken still goes along with it. And I cannot criticize Ken's gameplay more. I think that you said earlier that you like understand where Ken's coming from, not as much Amanfi. I'm the opposite. If you have that suspicion, if you have that gut feeling, then you need to be the person who's actually making the move, because you are the one, like he was right. He was the one going to the deathmatch there. And he, at any point in the game, could have actually made a move, and every point chose not to. Do you agree? Disagree on the Ken?
When you put it like that, I was just thinking like from the perspective of, at least he's trying, like he has the ability to figure out he's being lied to. I'm not sure if Amanfi had that same realization immediately. But yeah, definitely like if you figure you're the one being the candidate, you should be the one starting the uprising, at least trying to get people on your side. Because worst case scenario, you in a death match against Benjamin, who's already throwing you into the death match. So nothing really changes for him in that regard. So yeah, could have done a bit more with that realization.
Do you want to talk about Amanfi's choice right now? Because I feel like this is a good moment, but I know it's a bit in the future. There was last episode, we saw Scott be in a very specifically vulnerable position of this is the best moment to send him into the death match, because everyone who'd be scared of him, him picking the enemies, they were all safe because it was a joint win. In this spot, Amanfi, if he chooses to solve the word that he knows, he is safe. He could protect Bex, who he was like desperate to protect all episode, and Benjamin goes in, and maybe you get lucky, someone knocks him out. I cannot, this is where I agree with Dwight. I cannot understand Amonfi's perspective because he knew the word, Ken didn't.
Yeah,
I think
I didn't want to get to that spoiler when I was talking, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Because, like, as far as I'm aware, watching the show, does Amonfi have a number one he's trying to really protect? I don't think he does. It seems like he
does Bex. Bex is his number one that he's trying.
Does he have a? Does he have like a number two? Do they have a group of people? It seems like he's So if you get that win, then you and people you care about or person you care about are safe. There is no downside. And once again, going back, keep putting back to because it's just a horrible social move to pull those 3 people aside. You are very aware that you are not on those 4 people's number 1, 2, or 3. So you're trying to appease Ben by not like solving the word when you could have. Guess what? His allies didn't either. What you did is not going to push you up the ladder at all. So yes, you guarantee yourself that safety, and you make the possibility of the person who's able to finagle this. You just saw him play a masterclass of a game. Why would you not give the chance of him going home? And then if he is gone, his alliance probably shatters because without him, I don't think they do the same cooperative that they do. It's just mind blowing that the perfect opportunity was there and it just withered away.
Here's where I will disagree from the Amonfi point of view. I think that there's a world where Amonfi could have done that. I don't think that world is making that move here at the very end in the chamber. I think that once you're at that point, if you're the one who screws over the entire plan that everyone goes along with, you're the one who's selfish. I mean, could you imagine Bedalia's reaction to seeing Amonfi for the 3rd game in a row, go against the team? I think that that's the kind of thing that makes you target number 1 in a place where he didn't need to. What he could have done is earlier in the game, plant the seeds, get more people on side, and then before he goes in, tell the people like Ken, tell the people like Bex, tell the people that you can really trust, hey, I know the word, I'm going to solve it. I'm just letting you know Benjamin's going into deathmatch.
I mean, like, one of your points about, like, you're betraying people again, etc. Like, if you already are on the shit list in a way,
exactly.
Like, what's the harm? Like, if you've already betrayed Bedalia once, do you think he's the type to just be like, oh, like, I think Ken is someone who is like, okay, it was a game, I had to do it. But Bedalia's just like, you betrayed me once, I will come after your family until you're dead. Like, he's not gonna be the type to let it go. So yeah, do it again. Guarantee yourself safety for this round. Deal with next round later. Like you're not improving you're guaranteed not improving your position if you sit back and let this happen. You could improve it by getting rid of the person who is running the game and is not in your at least alliance at all. You're not on his totem pole. So to have a chance to improve your game is like to have that in front of you and not take it, just let your game sit where it is when you know you're at the bottom is mind blowing to me.
You know what I think it is? I think it's a Big Brother concept, much more than a Survivor concept, where Big Brother, you're in the minority, you don't have numbers, and you win HOH, you get a lot of pressure from the people in the majority to do what the majority wants. And you're trying to build back grace and get into a good position when what you really need to do is disrupt the status quo. And I think what Amonfi did was say, okay, the status quo is me on the bottom. I've got to work my way up, when really, like, he could maybe marginally pass like Allison with this move at best. And even still, he's not going to jump with Charlotte, India, even someone like Basha if she stayed. So
if he had done this move, it would have set up next episode, because knowing that the death match is poker face and knowing that Benjamin obviously is the kind of guy who knows how to count the cards and would, in my opinion, pick whoever he perceived to be the weakest competitor, which would probably, if I had to guess, be either Basha or Allison, just on gut on who I think he would select based on social bonds and based on his survivability chances. I think we're seeing Benjamin survive this episode. I think we're seeing a full-blown war between Benjamin and Amonfi that Benjamin might have more allies for coming next episode because he was the one who played cards up the whole time. But okay, going back through the first round of this game, 50 minutes into this podcast, I also love that we got the flash forward. I thought this was the most effective flashback or flash forward we've seen in the show so far. Love that they're doing that. We see a lot of people frustrated by this plan. Specifically, Indy and Bex are complaining about it, but acknowledge that if they were to solve this, they're directly killing Ben, which is, when you say, like, what is the charm that Ben has? I don't think it was charm. I think he really was able to, like, capitalize on, like, almost his paranoia and, like, a sense of pity that people would have for him. being like, we like Ben. Ben is freaking out right now. And if we try to play this game, any move we make will directly hurt him. And I think it was like that goodwill that really that goodwill, but also like the fear that he had, the scrambliness, the squirreliness that he had that kept people from like making these moves.
Right? I feel like it's just very disarming when he's telling the truth. You know, like he's not really playing a surreptitious game, which is weird because he's playing a nerdy game, a strategic game, a very like brainy game, but it's very out in front and everyone kind of knows what his deal is. So like, I think it's that very kind of weird spot where like people are annoyed, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah. What was the context you used? Surreptitious, by the way?
Like he's surreptitious. Like he's not playing like an evil, nasty game where he's trying to like slither his way in. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's not really what surreptitious means. That's fine.
It's absolutely the right word. Dwight, be the official.
No. Anyways, I'm not gonna. Nope, not touching that one. What was I gonna say? Yeah, maybe I just have authority issues. But I was like like y'all have like they're feeling like the pity or like the bad. If someone tells me don't share your hints, I'll tell you what to do. Nah, screw that. I'm getting you. Like I don't do that. I don't do that well. So I'm not sure. I'm surprised no one else had that same kind of like, who is this guy? Tell me what to do. Like maybe Bex did a little bit. Of like I'm kind of getting annoyed by this, but yeah. That's just not my personal vibe, so I would have not taken that well at all.
I'm so glad you're not on the Genius, Dwight, because it would have been a 7-hour game of Poker Face between you and Ben. Betting one chip
until
forever.
Then the last two goes just like, well, we know who wins this round. Cool. Anyways, go on. Like it's just be miserable.
Yeah. So we see the first 3 guesses come in. They were RSE, which. For basically everyone, that was what Ben gave people. Some people got a little bit funky with it. Some people were willing to swap the order of the letters. That was specifically Amanfi, Ken, and Basha, who were the people who were left fully out of the plan. Allison guesses completely randomly. It seems as though she wasn't even actually given letters accidentally.
Letters. She just
so funny.
Right. And then I think Ben afterwards goes up to her and is like, why did you not guess that? And she's like, you didn't tell me. He's like, did I not? Oh. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry.
Also, Bex guessed 3 different letters.
Cat.
Because she likes cats.
Which is honestly valid. Sure. Why not?
She should have guessed Bex, in my opinion. And that actually would have been a great guess.
That would have been incredible.
Yeah. So the big thing we see in that first round that's important is Indy and Bex being frustrated with this plan and confiding that with the very trustworthy Charlotte. We then see in round 2, Charlotte instantly rats out Indy, goes straight to Benjamin and says, hey, just so you know, Indy is trying to work against us. I want to make a comparison for Charlotte that I think is very accurate. And I want to hear what you guys think. In this episode, Charlotte reminded me so much of Nicole Franzel from Big Brother. In the rat gameplay that she did, and specifically this moment where she gets something from her supposed allies and instantly runs it to the power players. Do you see that at all, Dwight?
I mean, that you say it like that, yeah, that is quite.
The crying at the end is like,
and then the crying at the end,
yeah. That actually is such a good comparison. I never thought about it like that, but that's
which is good. It's good for Charlotte.
Yeah, that's
a good comparison.
And she says, I'm all in on making an alliance to the end, but I think we need to rethink who's in this alliance. Specifically calling out Indy. You could also, if you wanted to be like specifically going after the woman, you could make that into a Nicole Franzel comparison.
Yeah, but we're not going to do do that.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing today, right?
I'm just saying that I got.
Charlotte's not a girl's girl. Like that's not us three men. The tribunal has decided.
I will turn off my camera, turn off my mic. I will leave.
What I'm saying is that I'm calling it right now. We're going to see more Nicole Franzel lives from Charlotte throughout the season. So then what we also see is Ken, Amanfi, Indy, and Allison. Those are the four that like really weren't involved in the plan at the start. Well, Indy was, but those are the ones who are the most unhappy with this plan, and they start sharing info with each other. So I guess the overarching question for this whole episode is all four of these players are on the same page. They all agree they want to play this game. They all agree they should share information. Why the hell do they not just play it?
I don't think you can. First of all, they need the 2 clues Dwight talked about. And even if you have those 2 clues with the amount of time, with only 4 of you, with Benjamin being this disruptive force on the other side, always being able to bribe you or threaten you, depending on which way he wants to go. I think you need to have a full, unanimous outside of Benjamin, or it's just buddy up to Ken.
Yeah. Also, for the three that aren't India, like maybe you don't know if India's like coming with India because, like I said, she was in that first group that was called out by Ben. So from those 3, if they're reading the rooms correctly, you're like, you can't start outing your plan with someone who was with the enemy from the very beginning. I'm also trying. I'm opening the episode. I'm trying to see who had those 2 strong hints.
Me too.
Fast. See.
Yeah, let me know once you figure that out, because that will decide. Yeah, that will decide.
But also, they also have to recognize that those are the most important clues, and they go together.
Yeah, once someone says,
I think they can. Yeah.
If you hear like 6 letter and another clue, you're like, oh, then those chain together. I think yeah.
And that's a classic thing in the Genius, where you'll have like I think of 7 Commandments, for example, where you'll have all these different powers, but you realize that 2 of the powers actually go perfectly together if you can form an alliance. And it forces you to kind of form these alliances with people that you might not conventionally do. I don't think this cast is at that level of strategy yet, where they're willing to go past who they actually like and trust for the sake of winning the main match that they've been presented. The next big thing we see in this episode is the talk about who is going to get the token of life after the inevitable Benjamin win that we all seem to be careening towards. But Dahlia works up the courage and asks Benjamin directly for the token of life, saying that if Amanfi is the one who loses the death match or loses the main match, that he is confident he will be chosen. And Benjamin, after he's the first person to ask, offers it if he can keep Indy on side. Cory, you said you love it. Tell me why.
I love it. Like, this Benjamin's plan benefits no one except Benjamin and who gets that token of life. And if Bedalia recognized that and said, okay, I'll have this plan benefit me too, what more could you do? I think it's very clear who was the best player of this episode. I think it's almost even more clear who was the second best player of this episode.
Yeah. I just found out who got those 2 hints, and very ironic who it was. The 2 strong hints went to Ken and Basha.
Look at that. See, so right there, yeah, they had all of the tools that they needed in that room to win the game. They also could have bought the clue. Like, genuinely, if they wanted to win this main match, they would have won this main match. They did not want to win this main match.
Simple as that.
And one of them went home.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, Dwight, so after Benjamin directly offers the token of life to Bedalia, after he asks, Bedalia, honest guy that he is, goes straight to India and says, hey, just so you know, Benjamin offered me the token of life if I babysit you. So it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Like, I love that about the Genius. Like, you get people who are incredibly intelligent, like book smart wise, but the social play, it's intelligent in that regard. I'm just like, I'm mind blown by some of these decisions and conversations that people are making. I'm like, you have very smart people and you have very like socially intelligent people. I'm not seeing social intelligence so far from some of them. That was just a misstep in my opinion. But I think India also took it better than I expected, of not, being like, okay, screw this, I'm leaving the alliance. Like, she's like kind of weirded out, but also was like, okay, sure, whatever, I'll keep sticking status quo,
I think you can break this cast down thus far into like, there are the hardcore gamers, which we've seen Benjamin, Amanfi, someone like Charlotte as well. Yeah, but who are still there? Yeah. Charlotte, and then Indy, I think, is like right in the middle there. I think Bex is right in the middle there, and then I think like Basha, Ken, Allison. Yeah, I think those 3 are really, like, not to say they're not smart, they're just not playing at the same degree as the other people. They don't have the same like fight to win, at least from what we've seen thus far.
So what I liked about Bedalia is, first of all, he does have like a fire to him. Like, it's not like he's just going to be like sitting around. Like, he's trying to play very actively.
Yeah.
And I think in general, Bedalia telling everyone that Benjamin made this promise to him, I like in theory, because it doesn't allow Benjamin to play the game of, I'll give you the token of life. I'll give you the token of life. I'll give it to everyone. And then wait till he gets his immunity. Then you have to betray people, which sucks. But it's much worse now where Bedalia, like, okay, you're Charlotte and you go to Benjamin and you're like, so that token of life, what's the deal? If it's out there that it's already promised to Bedalia, I think it just raises Bedalia's chances of eventually getting it from Benjamin.
Sure.
But telling India is that's bold.
So yeah, we get that promise from Benjamin to Bedalia. We also get another promise. Benjamin promises Ken he is not the target. He can't say who the target it is, but he absolutely promises it to Ken. I think this is one of those things where, again, I mean, Benjamin's gameplay in this episode was so domineering and so forceful and so incredible in the fact that it actually worked when it absolutely should not have. Do you think that there is room after this episode for Ken and Benjamin to work together after Benjamin so clearly singled Ken out, lied to his face, and like basically declared he will be the one going to the death match?
I think it's possible. It depends on like what the game structure. I don't think they're gonna hold like a massive grudge. Like I said, so like I've seen a lot of Ken playing Clock Tower. I know he's a massive Clock Tower player, so I've seen a lot of him. I think he's the type of person to be like, okay, I get it's a game. We've worked against each other in the past. I think we can work together in the future. I'm not sure. Ben might be that kind of person too. I'm not fully sure if he'll hold grudges if games don't go his way. That's an unknown quantity, but I think Ken's more likely to be like the sure, let's work together now if we need to kind of person. But
I think so too, and it sucks. I hate that. I want Ken to hold a grudge.
So I think it's a funny thing that pops up in a lot of reality games, especially on like returning player seasons, where what's more powerful than like being bitter about being blindsided or something is the fear that the other person is bitter. So I think what might happen is Ken doesn't care. Ken's game is game. We'll move on. But Benjamin is so worried that Ken is holding a grudge that Benjamin will just repeatedly target Ken as a result of that fear. So I don't think there's a path for these two. They've been on opposite sides every episode. I don't see a reason for that to change.
Yeah. We then see the guesses for the second round. Ken guesses RSC. I just wanted to highlight that one. He guesses the same thing again, which I think is unconscionable. I mean, I don't understand how you can have as much suspicion as Ken does and throw your guess away again like this. Like, even if you change the positions of the letters to get more info, you know for a fact you only got two there. You know for a like, and didn't they even know that R wasn't in the word? That was confirmed
after they talked to Allison. Yeah, they should know that at this point.
So they knew R wasn't in the word. They really are just crossing their fingers that Benjamin is telling them the truth here. And props to Benjamin for pulling that off. Basha guesses STE, and she does jump to first here, which good for Basha. I mean, we haven't really talked about her this episode. I mean, she is the one who ultimately is going to be going home. But I do appreciate a player who's at least willing to do anything, you know?
Take that little chance.
She plays dumb really like convincingly. That's the highest compliment because she goes in confessional and explains what she's doing and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But her just breaking out laughing with, I think it's Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Charlotte or India, one of the two. The point is, it was very convincing to me. I guess the elephant in the room is like, it doesn't really matter having more points in that position, but I did like the ingenuity, I guess.
Yeah. So we then see round 3. The big thing that happens is Bex bringing up the token of life. Charlotte realizing that she never actually got that guarantee from Benjamin. She just kind of assumed she was going to get it. So she goes up to Benjamin, asks him for the token of life. Benjamin is like deer in the headlights here. He's like, well, I want to give it to you, but I did promise it to Bedalia for watching Indy. And then Charlotte brings up the very good point, which we saw from the episode, of being like, okay, but you do realize that I'm the one who's actually doing that, right? And I'm the one who told you in the first place that India is wavering, and I'm the one who's actually really helping you here versus Bedalia, who basically like outed it to India instantly. So there's debate about the token of life. I want to ask you guys, put yourself in Benjamin's shoes here. Charlotte comes to you with this, like, kind of, very sincere, I want the token of life. Do you fold here? Do you either fold and tell her, sorry, it's not going to you? Do you switch your plan, say, all right, I'll do damage control with Bedalia, I will give it to you? Or do you waver in the way that Benjamin did?
I waver. I like how he did it. I think that's the play. I think it's about giving Charlotte enough hope to not ruin the plan, giving her enough doubt to not be super mad when you don't give it to her. The worst thing you can do is lie to Bedalia and give it to Charlotte and make an enemy out of one of the two of them. Just in this gray area, you could probably get away with it.
Yeah, I think he handled it the best way he could. I think also, if you also outright tell her, being like, no, so into Bedalia, Charlotte has incentive to then be like, yeah, so screw the plan. Let's just blow this up. So he handled, I think, the best he could in this moment.
Mm-hmm. And he does say, I think the wording was great from Benjamin here. He says, I want to give it to you. Charlotte, I really want to give it to you, which is not a commitment. It is reinforcing social bonds. We'll see next episode if it is enough for her, because she seemed pretty beat up at the end. But it was good enough for this game, at the very least, to keep her on board. Benjamin then decides, hey, Allison, you get extra info because you are, further back, and I made that mistake. He's literally a dictator in this game. Like, I can't get over that enough, that people are coming up to his door like little, like it's a soup kitchen, like just asking for their rations.
May I have some more?
Right.
Yeah, please, sir. May I have some more? Like, would you spare a garnet? Could I get an extra letter in the third position? Like, and everyone is okay with this. But the thing is, they're not okay with it. Amalfi and Bex are paranoid. They do not like this plan. They all realize there's only one person who's going to go into the death match. There's no reason to continue this other than your relationship with Benjamin and not wanting to make an enemy of him. I really think they're scared of him. I think they're scared of him, and they also just have that genuine like for him enough that they don't want to be the sole reason to screw him over. But I still can't get over this.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it's fascinating, like frustrating and fascinating to watch this episode, genuinely. But like,
I think people are scared.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, Benjamin did an amazing job playing this round to keep people in the sense of a state of fear, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah. So third round continues. I mean, it's just more random guesses, right? And then Benjamin, final round, is like, all right, I need time alone to figure out everyone's letters. Which for me, this is just where it goes like cartoony levels of these people playing the game for Benjamin, because he's literally, in that room deciding who is going to get eliminated. Bex, one thing I love about Bex is she always needs to be in the room. She's always the person who's bouncing around. Comes in with Bedalia. Benjamin basically yells at her and is like, no, you cannot be in here.
Like, my office hours are not open. Go away. Yes. I'll call you in later. Like, absolutely absurd.
And then she goes, okay, but why does Bedalia get to be in there? And then Benjamin's like, it's only fair, Bedalia.
Well, honestly, I think Benjamin was talking to both of them, but Bedalia, because he's like in the Token of Life Club, thought he was actually, he's not talking to me. And Benjamin's like, nah, you too, man. So something that kind of the format of the show incentivizes this, of like, I thought an interesting strategy is everyone's given their assignments by Benjamin. What if they go then tell Ken to try to protect Ken, and we'll have a whole different deathmatch candidate? And that's like a kind of duplicitous thing you can do and mess up Benjamin's plan without necessarily guaranteeing your spot in the deathmatch. But if you're an ally of Ken, you kind of want Ken to go to the deathmatch because he won't pick you.
He's not going to pick you, which is a very fun quirk in this game. You kind of, if your ally gets targeted,
honestly, if you're an enemy of Ken, that should have been the play. You go to Ken and say, hey, Ken, are you thinking of picking me? Here's the letters. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah.
That's very true. The issue is it seems like no one was leaving that main room, so it would be very obvious of who was the traitor in that case, because the game was being played naturally. Everyone was just sitting around waiting for Professor Ben to call everyone in one by one and show them their test scores.
That's why the game really needed to be decided in that room when it was Ken, Amalfi, Indy, and Allison. If the four of them had decided, you know what, screw this plan, we're going to play for ourselves, that breaks the whole game open. All of a sudden, Benjamin's allies are running to him being like, we need the word. They figured out the word. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a totally different game there. The way we did see it play out, Benjamin leaves his throne, gathers the peasants into, what does he call it? The atrium. He yells out, can everyone gather in the atrium? And declares that he's going to be giving each letters out one by one to every person. You can see the real frustration from India and Allison here. And Ken too, and Bex. Like, people are not happy with this plan. I thought a really interesting moment here was when Benjamin kind of caught that frustration from the other players, he specifically says, you don't have to do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did that moment stand out to you? Because I did feel like that was a moment where he kind of appealed to their emotions and their goodwill towards him.
I mean, for one, I was like, okay, he has the right social read of he is stepping on a lot of toes. So at least he realized that, an hour into the game that maybe I'm annoying people. So good job realizing that there. But I'm like, once again, at that point, he also might be surprised, like, damn, no one actually revolted this whole hour. So
yeah,
good job to me.
It's like starting peace talks when the nuke is in the air. It's like,
right.
It's like, okay, like, guys, let's rethink this. Everyone share your clues. David Tennant's already back explaining episode 4. Like, we have passed this moment, but better late than never, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so we see him give out the words. We see him again refuse to commit with Charlotte. She asks him, "Have you decided?" He's like, "Honestly, I haven't," which I do believe him at that moment. He probably hadn't decided. This is the moment where I just have to unleash on Ken. Like, Ken is so doubtful of what's going on. He sees someone like Amanfi getting like the extra info, who would be the other person realistically that would be targeted.
Good for Amanfi. How did he get in that room?
He just asked for it and Ben folded, which also that happened. But Dahlia's saying, no, don't do it. I was like, watching, I was like, okay, this is where it goes wrong for Ben. I was like, because he didn't listen to Dahlia. They're showing that. Great. And he's going to use the word. And he doesn't. I was so disappointed.
It reminded me of, Dwight. You ever seen like some of these slasher movies where like the killer has one last like dagger of like, okay, Benjamin just let the game continue by telling Amanfi information. He's like, you know what? We'll give him one more shot to disappoint us.
Right. Also, like,
and he did.
For Ken, like, in the last, like, I think Ken figured, like, maybe 5 minutes left, figures out, like, okay, I'm probably getting lied to. What can he do? Like, you already wasted, you can't, like, you saw how long it took me to solve the word, right? Like, I don't think in that last 5 minutes Ken can do anything but just, like, hope and pray it's not him. It's like going into tribal, you don't have a shot in the dark, you don't have an idol, and it's like, you're out. It's like, you have no social capital. What can you do at that point besides hope and pray, or maybe cause a lot of chaos when you're still probably going home? But like, there's nothing mechanical Ken could have really done in that moment besides be like, hopefully, like, play along and maybe not piss everybody off for the future. But
here's a good idea. What if he just goes to Basha and is like, Basha, I'm gonna pick you for the deathmatch unless you tell me what Ben told you to do. And if he does, go do those letters, right? Or
that's
go to
assuming
to get the least amount of points.
That's assuming that, I mean, Ken, even though he feels it in his gut that he's going to be the deathmatch candidate, he doesn't feel it enough to actually do something. The person who really, there was one. I think we talked about how Benjamin this episode was like messy, but ultimately masterful in the way that he got all of his other players to essentially play for his win the entire game. The biggest mistake he made, and this is something that could have destroyed it all if Amanfi just felt a little bit differently, was giving that special code out that would get them 20. That is how Amanfi was able to solve the game. Amanfi gets the word, he knows it's extinguished, and based on how the points had been given out, everybody has 6 except for Basha, who has 7, and Ben himself, who has 2. Amanfi in that moment with the word extinguish could have literally told every single person but Basha what the word is. That would make every person that he told safe. Amanfi had the power in that moment, once he'd figured out that it was extinguished, to protect whoever he wanted in the game. All of his allies. And imagine the trust. Yes, you're screwing Benjamin over, but imagine the trust that Amanfi is getting with someone like Ken, someone like Allison, someone like India, possibly, Bex, obviously, to basically take them out of the deathmatch contention entirely, like, through his own decision making. Yes, you make a lot of enemies, but I think if he had done that specifically, he could have made a lot of friends.
And
do you guys like that?
I love that idea. I didn't think about, like, you could force that tie because you need to avoid Botch gets the 7 points. But the problem is, we see the episode, Benjamin pulled Amanfi, told him that long code with 30 seconds left. So I don't think Amanfi had, which is great, but I don't think Amanfi had time to figure that he could do that and pull the people aside and tell them and get them not to tell, like, Basha. There's so many layers to that, and for him to figure out 30 seconds, absolutely masterful, genius play. I don't think that's something that anyone will be able to pull off and think about in time. But that would be the play.
Yeah. Now that is a
picture
big
for. I'm curious what you think, Zach, because it's kind of based on what you said. do we even know how Amonfi solved it? Like, it wasn't Benjamin giving out the word. Credits to him for like actually being able to put it together in that short of time.
Well,
He gave him enough of it.
Yeah, the last 5 letters given were GUESH, and the first 2 I think were like E something.
Well,
I'm just like,
yeah, it's
like if you look at it long enough, you can figure like what words, like because he knew he was getting what 14 points, I think, because he got to 20, right? He was at 6, he got 14. So you know at least like 3 or 4 in the right spot, and you can then backward solve from there. Even with he did it with like whatever hint he had, which I'm not gonna go. Actually, I probably have a pause. I'm gonna figure out what hint he had. But he had one hint he knew for sure, right? So maybe that helped him solve it.
His hint was fairly useless, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think he got one of the first.
I do think it was a mistake from Benjamin ultimately to keep everyone at the same level. Basha getting an extra point was honestly like by accident. He didn't intend it. I think that if Benjamin like could do it over again, he'd probably want to like just close that possibility up and have someone be a little bit higher, some people a little bit lower, like fluctuate the levels a little bit more. Although that might have lost some trust. Anyways,
he'd be showing his hierarchy at that point. That might be a bit more of a problem.
Yeah, you'd have to rely on someone like Vidalia or Charlotte being okay with being lower with the promise of I'm going to jump you up at the end, which is a little bit tricky to manage. So we see the results of the game to the surprise of no one, especially because they did the whole flashback thing. Like if Amonfi really had made that move, we would have seen it after the results were said. Like I feel like just watching too much reality TV, kind of see those things. But yeah, Benjamin was not betrayed. He is the winner. And Ken, no rules barred. He was the night 1 kill. Was so tragic. So disappointed to see that. And then the other funny thing is that there was a whole plan to get people extra garnets. None of that happened because they screwed up the math and didn't realize that it was 20.
That was weird, by the way. It should have been just 20.
I have not been happier that happened. That's what you get when you do not play the game. I like the 3K out of the prize pot. Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, congratulations, Benjamin. You won $7,000 and a coupon to Nando's. Like you won the genius game. Enjoy.
I think David Tennant should have the right to take garnets away from players that he doesn't feel played it right.
They probably have pre-recorded those lines, so can't do it. You know,
we need Jeff Probst to do like tribal council at the end of these episodes just to yell at some of these people.
Jeff would lose his mind if he saw something.
Is there any chance that this is AI David Tennant? By the way, is there like?
I highly doubt it.
Probably not.
But of course, I think this reminds me, Zach, of like touchy subjects in Survivor. How to be like, what the hell is this? Like, why? Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like we could just end this. We could just end this game.
Right. Like production, I must have been. They were probably very upset watching this play. But like, okay, it's not what we intended. Like some probably were like, oh, this is great drama. But like at the beginning, people who wrote this game was just like, why did I bother? Why did I do this?
Here's how the genius game works. There's playing the game as intended. This is here. There's breaking the game. That's here. We love that. Then there's destroying the game, which is down here. Like we want the game broken, not obliterated.
Right? Yeah.
They've probably written in some potential ways to loophole the game. That's just where like the fact they made this episode of TV. Great job. It was the best one of the 3 by far.
Oh, this is I liked it.
Like I liked it. But, like as the game player, me, I'm just like shaking. I'm like,
I think this is a perfect episode of The Genius, genuinely, if Amonfi betrays Benjamin at the end. And we had that extreme ways moment of, oh my God, shock. Like someone did figure it out at the end. I'll break it down where I'll say it's like playing the game, breaking the game, and then hijacking the game is what Benjamin did.
Yeah.
Like he literally like took control and made it his own. So then
let's talk about go ahead.
Yeah. So we see Benjamin make his choice. He ultimately chooses Vidalia to get the token of life. Wasn't surprised by that. I think in retrospect, it was the right call because I think Vidalia is not seen as a particularly strong deathmatch contender, whereas Charlotte is. So I think that like he is protecting the ally and Charlotte didn't need it. Charlotte was still not happy about that. She was in tears. Did you feel bad for Charlotte? Were you crying with her?
I don't know why she was crying. She was crying because Basha was like picked eventually, not because she didn't get the token, right?
Yeah, like I said, I'm still in the camp of everyone kind of played scared. I guess she was playing the right way of like, she could have gotten picked for a death match. Actually, no, horrible. Like I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, cry, whatever. Like maybe jaded, but no, cool, whatever, cry.
And then we see Ken choose Basha. I assume he said that it was because he'd already seen her play a death match. I think that really means I saw you play a death match and I thought you sucked at it.
I think that was the nicest way he could say what you were thinking. Like, this is my best chance of just surviving.
Because he saw Allison play a death match too, and he was like, "Oh, she's pretty good."
Like, I'm not touching that. Yeah, which good call. So yeah.
Yeah, so we get to our death match, which is a very famous Genius death match. The game formerly known as Indian Poker, now known as Poker Face. Whoa, what was that? What were those eyes?
What year are we in? We're still talking about? We're still saying that?
It's Poker Face. It's always been like, it's just Poker Face. You don't need to mention its history. That's crazy.
Oh my, we can't say Indian Poker.
Even saying it as a joke, Zach, I think
like it's a bit far, my guy. Like what?
Yeah.
Okay, so Poker
It's
Face.
the game that's now known as Poker Face. Sorry. Imagine that's how I get canceled. People are like looking at
like they're erasing our Genius history, okay? Like,
I know, like I've never taken a stand for anything in my life. I'm taking a stand for this. It's called Indian Poker.
Zach's like, it's just words. We give them power.
Oh god.
Fine, all right. Fine, it's you know what? Then you describe it. You describe the game.
Okay. The game formerly and currently known as Poker Face. There's 20 cards, 2 of each number 1 through 10. The cards are shuffled. You each pick a card and hold it up to your head, hence, or your face rather, hence Poker Face. That's why it's been called that. And basically, the higher card wins. Now, the wrinkle, of course, being you don't get to see your own card. You only see what the other person has. So if you see the other person has a 1, you probably feel pretty safe, betting and raising as you would in a normal game of poker. The last kind of wrinkle to it, I suppose, is if you fold with a 10, which is the highest number, you lose. How many chips did they say? Is it 5?
10 chips.
10 chips
you lose,
plus whatever you've already had in the pot.
So you lose 10 chips plus everything you've already bet. So it's kind of a big risk reward. You see the other person with a 10, you can't beat them, but if you get them to fold, you get a lot of chips. It's a very fun and kind of luck-based game, provided both players know how to play.
Yeah, mostly luck. There is one thing that I think, as I mentioned, that the 20-card deck of 1 to 10 is not shuffled until all 20 cards have been played.
Mm-hmm.
So a good player can count the cards, play 9 rounds, and know exactly what the last 2 cards are for round 10. And that has been seen before. And I think it's like a really good strat. That's how you win the game at this point. Once you can figure out the odds of what cards are left, and then you can start shifting the odds for what you have based on your opponent has, knowing like the conditional probabilities of what you should be betting.
Dwight, have you ever played Poker Face before?
I have not played Poker Face before. Okay. Have y'all?
Me and Cory used to play this a lot when we were growing up. This was so we used to remake some of the Genius death matches. And Poker Face was one of the big ones that we would always play. And we actually made a tactical Nori board. So one of the things with Poker Face was that what we would do. What?
I just don't like that you're dragging me down with you. Like, it's the first I've heard of Poker Face. I don't.
I was also mad they changed RHAP, just to be clear.
Just keep going. Just
so when me and Cory would play Poker Face ourselves, what we would do is we would actually purposely keep the card counts the same, even though we could play with a deck of cards. We could take that card counting strategy out because that is so fundamental to the game itself. Because that is what takes it away from being a really luck-based game to one that if you're like aware enough, you can actually game for. I think it was very clear watching this that Ken was coming in with like a full game plan and Basha was not. Although Basha did start off very strong.
And I will give her to Basha as well. I don't think she was like counting cards, but she said like she was keeping the convo light with Ken, like kind of some playful convo, maybe disrupting Ken's ability to count cards, which I think is incredibly smart to engage your opponent in conversation. Because if they're like, you lose focus for 1 second trying to remember you have 20 cards, if you forget, like, wait, was it 1-4 played or 2 4s? Was it 1-3? Like, it can get a bit confusing if you're distracted, not focusing on only the card counting. So I really like that, using just being a human in conversation to distract your opponent. I love it a lot.
I think it's smart too, because you're not going to beat Ken on a pure game theory intellect level. I don't know who's actually smarter on an IQ test, but Ken has a lot of experience playing this game. So I think you have to lean into Bosch's strengths, which I think, a little bit outside the box. When I talk about Poker Face being a somewhat luck-based game, a lot of times these death matches swing based on like a single really unfortunate hand where somebody has a 2 and the other person has a 1, or you have a 10 and the other person's holding a 9. And everything in your bone and every, piece of logic you can muster is telling you the right thing to do, and that's still the wrong thing to do. So again, this could all be curbed by like the card counting helps you have a little bit more probability. And if you bet conservatively, you could stretch out the game long enough where hopefully the better player wins. But I feel like we usually see like 2 pivotal moments in every game of Poker Face. And I think Basha was playing a little bit looser in those moments.
Yeah, we did have a 2-1 moment, and Basha's on the wrong end of it. And was that the one where it's like a 14 chip swing or something massive? Or was that like one of the? Yeah, so it just takes one bad thing like that.
I think when you have 2 players that are playing optimally, it's going to come down to who gets like the worst beats like that. When you have someone who just understands poker strategy and someone who just doesn't, I think Ken did have the strong advantage here. And we do end up seeing Ken is our winner for this death match. I was very happy to see that, because I do think that Ken still has a lot to give in this season. And I'm hoping that this kind of being singled out and being chosen as a deathmatch will be a wake-up call for him to like actually start playing harder versus just trying to stay under the radar and all that. But yeah, so we
do a eulogy for Basha at all?
Yes, please do.
So my eulogy for Basha is, I think of the entire cast, Zach and I were most skeptical about Basha as a game player. The reason being, her interviews were very filled with honesty and integrity and things like that. I was pleasantly, I think, surprised by Basha. She was playing just as much as a lot of these people. Didn't stick out like a sore thumb in the way I thought she would. She proved a certain level of like prowess in these death matches. Ultimately, she was chosen because I think she was viewed as one of the weaker players in that context, which I don't think was like the wrong call by any means. But I thought she was a fun presence on the show. I think between her and Ken, I think I could go either way who I'd want to stay. But I do think we're losing out on a bit with Basha being gone.
Yeah. I will also say with Basha, I didn't say this in the pregame, but I did see her original Instagram post when she announced it. She wrote something like, everyone take a look at how amazing my headshot is for Genius Game. It's about the only thing I did well on this show. Tune in.
I mean, she won a death match, so like,
right. And I want to say, Basha, I think you did a lot more than just take a beautiful headshot for the season. And I think
didn't she win the second main match?
She won the first main. She won the first main match or second main match. Yeah,
second,
right.
Yeah.
A death match win and a main match win. That's a lot more than most people get done.
Yeah, that's really good.
So. Yeah. So props to Basha. We'll miss her on the season, but we continue. All right. We got to give the Sangi for this episode. We're giving it to Benjamin. I mean, is there any...
I was going to a Monty. Wait, what?
Clear Bedalia runner-up for me.
Okay, it's Benjamin.
Yeah, it's Benjamin. Benjamin for actually like just grabbing this game by the balls and refusing to let go the entire time.
Yeah, there's no question in my mind about this one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dwight, one thing that we like to do at each game or at the end of each episode is play a death match between me and Cory. This game, we're not going to do Poker Face, but in the spirit of word games, especially ones that didn't end up getting played, we're going to be playing Hangman today. So, Dwight, you've come up with a word for us.
Yes, I have a 5-letter word for you guys.
But I want the viewers to know that Dwight, Zach, and myself just took part in like a 45-minute main match that has been deemed too much for the podcast, but it does exist out there, and I want you guys to know it happened.
It was like 20 minutes. Okay, it was like 45, but I wrote like a custom elimination or whatever. Yeah, we might put it out for patrons, but it was maybe a bit long for the podcast, so we have changed it. Like I said, I love game design. I might have gone overboard. Who knows? Anyways,
yeah, Dwight. Dwight could fully post it himself. I will say I won. Let me just be clear in this.
spoilers, brother.
Oh, well then we can cut that. We're
I think
cutting
it was very
a lot
clear
here.
I was
Sam,
not
in this.
winning. Pretty visible. So
All
let's
right,
go into it. Do you have the word, Dwight? You ready?
I do have the word. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna go guess first.
How many letters is it? How many letters?
A 5-letter word.
Great.
I'm gonna say A.
Yes, that is. I'd say where that is in the word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the 3rd letter.
Okay.
Zach?
I'm gonna say G.
Nope. That is not in the word. How should I keep track of this? Should I just?
It doesn't. We don't need to. It's whoever gets it first. You know.
Great. Cool.
T.
Not in the word. Zach?
R.
Not in the word. Cory?
S.
Not in the word. Zach?
Stupid word.
E.
To come up with.
That is the 5th letter of the word.
I'd like
Cory,
to solve.
go for it.
Share. Wait, that's to say 4 different reasons that would.
Anyways, Zach, your turn.
I'm gonna guess. I'll guess L.
That is the 2nd letter. Cory,
I would like to solve.
go for it.
Flake.
No. Zach, your turn.
Okay, but he can't just keep I can guess after my word, right? Or after my letter. Because otherwise it breaks the game if he's just
That's how
keep...
yeah. That's like yeah. You make a letter.
Extreme
then
Way
you can
starts
guess.
playing. Corey figured it out.
Right,
I mean, yeah, I was like, yeah, it's probably not bad. So yeah, guess the letter, then you can guess the word afterwards.
Okay, sure.
So yeah.
Okay.
Zach,
I'm gonna guess Z.
That's the 4th letter.
I got it.
Okay, yeah.
The word is blaze.
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was glaze.
We already guessed G.
You're a quick one, Zach. You're pretty good.
All
At
right.
Look at how note taking in these word games helps. So yeah, Zach wins our game of Hangman here today. Would you look at that?
What a fun, quick game.
Thank you so much, Dwight, for being here.
Yeah. All right. Well,
frankly, let me say this, Dwight. There's not another person on the planet Earth who we could have done this podcast with.
I'm so glad
Truly.
y'all invited me for this one. I was so excited. Like I saw the game. I'm glad y'all had me for this episode. I'm so glad y'all get to do this. I'm so glad to be a part of it. But thank you guys so much for having me on with y'all.
All right. Yeah. Everyone, make sure to follow Dwight. I believe it's what your actual Instagram stuff is a little confusing.
Instagram, I think it's like Dwight Moore Jr. dots in between.
That's a good one.
It's just my name, but dots instead of spaces. Twitch, I stream Blood on the Clock Tower a lot at twitch.tv/doingmore. More is in my last name, spelled here, there. Otherwise, yeah, that's kind of where I am. I don't really use social media otherwise too much. So yeah, follow me on Twitch. I'd love to have you there and watch some Clock Tower with some of the RHAP folks and reality TV alum like Zach and Cory here.
Yeah, I mean, if you like The Genius, you're gonna love Blood on the Clock Tower. I mean, it's become all of our obsession, honestly.
Yeah, and Ken from the season, I can wear him because of Clock Tower. He plays like monthly on the YouTube channel. So,
do you think we'll be able to get Ken joining one of your games at some point?
Oh, I fully intend to reach out about that. That would be fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We will see you back tomorrow for our episode covering episode 4. We've got a very special guest. Claire Rafis is going to be joining us, another one of the Clock Tower crew. And then we've got exit interviews coming up with Basha and whoever the 4th boot is. Thank you again for listening. It's been a lot of fun, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.